Welcome to Ticker Talk. I'm Ted Ohashi, coming to you today from the offices of InvestmentPitch in Vancouver, British Columbia. I'm pleased to have with me for a return engagement Steve Vestergaard, Chairman and CEO of Destiny Media. Steve, welcome.
Thank you.
It's been about almost a year since we were together. Why don't you start by telling us...
It's amazing how time flies.
That's right. That's right. A lot's happened.
Yeah.
But why don't we start with the basics? Tell us about your basic two lines of business, exactly what it is you do.
Sure. So we have a core business where we help the record companies send pre-release music to radio stations. There's a period when a song comes out where you can't buy it. And so it's really vulnerable because the fans want it in the worst way. It's likely to end up on a pirate site. And the record labels will send it out to radio stations, but there'll be up to a month before you can go onto iTunes or go to the record store and buy it. And so what they're doing is using our Play MPE system to securely send the music to the radio stations and other trusted users. So they send it to their own staff, for example, music reviewers, sports stadiums, film and TV. So for example, editors and producers of TV shows that might license the music. But they send it through our automated system, and that system is backed by 2 patents. We have one patent where we can kind of lock the content. So it's like Fort Knox. You can't steal it. It's literally locked down to the computer. So as an example, the program director at a radio station might be able to access it at work, but not on his home computer. Then we have a second patent where a lot of times the radio stations say, hey, that's too strong. We want to make a bunch of copies. So the record labels in the back office can check off that they're going to allow copies. But every copy is embedded with our watermark that identifies the recipient. So now if that recipient goes out and pirates the song and they put it up on the internet, we can trace back and see where it comes from. We're partnered with the IFPI, which is the Global Anti-Piracy Group. They're based out of the UK. People are probably familiar with like the RIAA in the US or CREA in Canada. All over the world, there's anti-piracy groups in each country. They report back to this umbrella group in the UK. The umbrella group has a web crawler that goes to torrent sites and pirate sites all around the world. We're integrated with them, so you can trace back. So if they come across a pirated song, they can trace back and they can see where it comes from. We can, their web crawler lets us know. Our server can automatically disable that recipient, and immediately an email goes out to the record label, and they can go back to the recipient. They can hold them accountable, so either legally accountable or even criminally accountable. So that system's completely automated. Again, it's the Play MPE system, and it's generating about $4 million a year in revenue. It's costing us about $3.2 million in fixed expenses. And that's kind of the, I shouldn't say that it's the cash cow. The record labels probably don't want to hear that. But it's a really nice business that's supporting the company.
And the advantages of that are, you know, prior to that, record companies are sending out hard copy and...
Yeah, the old way of doing it was that they would send out a CD by FedEx, and it would land on who knows whose desk. A lot of times it'd get as far as the secretary. She'd go, hey, my boyfriend likes this song. She grabs it, takes it home. They just finished spending $22 by FedEx to get it out there. Now they got to send it again. They've missed the day because it didn't get on air. But there's absolutely no reporting. So, you know, and it can take a couple of days to get there by FedEx. But there's no reporting. They don't know what happened to it. It's expensive. It's not secure. People can make copies of the CD. Again, it's a really vulnerable period where, you know, who knows what's going to happen to the content. By comparison with our system, it's instant. So if I go, oh, I forgot to send Ted a copy, I can just add Ted to the list. 2 or 3 seconds later, Ted's got a copy. There's no waiting a day for FedEx. You know, there's no worrying about hitting the FedEx cutoff time. It's secure. So once Ted receives it, we either lock it or we watermark it. There's real-time reporting, so the very second that Ted streams it or downloads it or, you know, exports it to a CD or something, the record label knows about it. In so many different ways, it's just way better for the label. We're integrated with all kinds of third-party systems. We're integrated into real-time reporting systems by, from Clear Channel and elsewhere, Sirius XM, the BBC's server system. We're integrated into real-time scheduling systems all over the world. And so you send through our system, you know your song is going to get on air. By comparison, you send it out physically, who knows what's going to happen to the system. But your first question was, what are the two products? So the second product, our Clipstream product, is something we're actually in the process of launching. It's still kind of in the 95% stage. I know if you'd asked me a year ago in our original interview if we'd still be launching today, I would have wished that wouldn't be the case. We're probably a little slower than we'd hoped to be. But the whole Clipstream development has been funded by the Play MPE product. We've already expensed everything. We don't capitalize development. And that's all against the Play MPE business. And what Clipstream is just playerless streaming video. So everybody's familiar with going to YouTube, for example, and you watch a video. Those videos are often in the Flash format. Usually that comes with your web browser, but then Flash comes out with a new version and you've got to upgrade it. It'll pop up and say you don't have the latest version. Some people don't have administrator access, so they can't upgrade. Some people, like my grandma or something, doesn't know how to upgrade and isn't able to. The other thing that's happened in the last couple of years is Flash has stopped supporting mobile. So they stopped supporting smartphones. They've stopped supporting any kind of device. They actually laid off about 700 employees a couple of years ago and just said, we're not going to support anything but computers going forward. So that left the industry in a bit of a mess. There's been a few different technologies that have tried to fill the void. One is H.264, which is effectively Blu-ray. It reaches about 63–64% of the people. But it's going to be obsolete. It's being replaced by H.265, which is coming out, actually started coming out this year. There's another one called WebM, which is Google's format and the one that they're pushing. A lot of chips coming out are going to be WebM going forward. That's in the low 50% install rate. Another one is a product called Theora, which is an open source system. And there's no limit. The way HTML5 is set up, there's all kinds of new video formats that can come out. So what we're launching with Clipstream is a new system that's completely cross-platform and completely playerless. So what we're doing is taking advantage of some of the magic that's available in the browsers. When we kind of realized that the browsers were capable of this, we jumped and filed 7 patents. So we have 7 patents going back to August 2011, where we're trying to protect the technique that we're using. We're hoping that we can stop anybody else from using the technique. But basically, you take the video, you drop it into a website, and it plays everywhere. It plays on smartphones, internet-enabled TVs, e-book readers, computers, laptops, right across the board without people having to install player software. So as long as you have a modern browser, the video just plays. And so from the content owner's point of view, there's some huge advantages. So the first thing is they don't need to transcode. So I mentioned YouTube. YouTube, when you upload the video to YouTube, behind the scenes, YouTube has to convert that video into currently they're converting it to 3 formats. They should probably convert to more. But that means that YouTube's got to pay for the cost of conversion. Then they have to have 3 times the storage, 3 times the air conditioning, 3 times the electricity, 3 times the real estate for their server location, 3 times the technical staff. And they figure that currently that conversion process, well, not currently, but they figure by 2014, that conversion process is going to be a $1.6 billion spend. Then the second thing they have to do is go out and host that on a content delivery network. And the reason is that video is really heavy typically because you have to have streaming servers. And the industry is currently spending about $3 billion a year on companies like Akamai and Limelight Networks and stuff like that. With our stuff, you can just take the video and you can just drop it on your own web server because there's no streaming server. And our video, because it's so standards-based, the video streams will just recycle. And so you can reduce infrastructure costs and bandwidth costs by about 99%. It just kind of works. On the player side, because there's no player software, we reach basically 100% of modern browsers. In terms of browsers that are out there, the only one we don't support is Internet Explorer 8, which is at this point, I think, 5 or 6 years old. But otherwise, any browser that's out there will just natively support us. You don't have to install anything. You don't have to upgrade anything. So from the content owner's point of view, I just reach kind of everybody. But one of the most important things is because there's no upgrade path, once you encode the video in our format and you stick it up on your website, you don't have to ever talk to Destiny again. You now own that video and it's just going to work. Because it's standards-based, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, whatever browser comes out at that point will still be able to play our video. There's no plugin. By comparison, if I was to go with H.264, and I do that today, as soon as a few months from now, it's going to be obsolete because H.265 is coming out.
Right. So Steve, it sounds as though with these two products, you've got the Play MP3, which is kind of a stable cash flow business right now, and you've got the Clipstream, which is maybe the spectacular growth coming in the next 2 or 3 years. So let's talk a little bit more about that. Let's.
Well, to interrupt for a sec, I actually expect spectacular growth from both, but the Clipstream market size is probably a lot larger. There's more blue sky there.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the contract that you announced just a few days ago, actually, for the Play MP3. I mean, that sounded to me as if it were a really big thing.
Yeah, so the Play MPE system, we've got contracts. I don't know if people understand, but the way the major record labels are set up, the parent label owns label groups. Then the label groups own labels. And there's this whole kind of almost pyramid system of labels owned by labels owned by labels. And the majors are UMG, EMI, Warner, and Sony. And people will go, well, hey, what about like Capitol or Columbia? And they name all these different ones, not realizing that they all kind of fall below the parent level. And so where we were at is we had contracts with some of the sub-labels. We had understandings with other sub-labels where there's no contract, but we come to pricing, understanding, and they would use our encoder and pay us. Then on the parent label, we had deals with international and with North America. So the North American deals would typically be in US dollars. So North America would be Canada, US, and Mexico. International would be like South America, Africa, Europe and Asia. We also had contracts with Australia and New Zealand. But what would happen is, in each case, those contracts were come to by separate negotiations. And the terms weren't always the same. And the differences were minor. But it kind of created like a bit of a hodgepodge that gets confusing because you now have the Australian label that's sending into the US, or you have the US label that's sending into Australia. And what the majors are telling us is they would like to have a single understanding worldwide. In the case of Universal Music Group, they purchased EMI. So the number of majors has shrunk from 4 to 3. So call it February of 2012, they approached us and they wanted to negotiate a global contract priced in euros where everything we did anywhere in the world was kind of consistent. Of course, we look at it from our point of view and we want to take the best of all the contracts that are out there. They look at it from their point of view. They want to take the best from their side of all the contracts that are out there. It actually took us about a full year, actually a little more than a full year, to come to an agreement with them. We came to a basic understanding over Christmas, but by the time we went through the legals and everything, we're looking at April, and we just now currently have an agreement. But what we have now is a clear global understanding with Universal and EMI. They're representing almost 50% of the major label market worldwide, where we don't have to negotiate to use the system more. And so anywhere in the world, we're like the phone company, we've got an automated system. If they use it more, they pay us more, and everybody understands what that's going to look like.
And from their perspective, it's simple. They just add the new user on and away you go.
Yeah, I keep mentioning that the system's automated. I probably sound like a broken record, kind of intended. We're in the music industry.
Yeah.
But really, they use our encoder software. They provide the labor. They encode the music. They encode the video. They type in all the metadata. Metadata being like the artist's name and the number of beats per minute and how many seconds of silence before the song starts. All the reporting data. They manage the lists of who's going to receive it. They set up all the security rules, and then they click go. And then behind the scenes, the servers do all the work. And at the end of the month, we send them the bill. And end to end, the system's completely automated. What's happened is they've been reluctant to use it more because there's not been that understanding. So if they go into a new market, they're not quite sure what that's going to mean. So now where we're at is anywhere in the world, they can use the system and increase the use of the system. They can go into new territories, new countries. They can go into new recipient types. Instead of just hitting radio, they could hit music reviewers and DJs. And there's a potential for us to do a lot more business.
And so that was part of your earlier statement that although this is a bread and butter kind of product, there's a lot of growth potential there.
Yeah, well, the thing with the Play MPE system is it's a really expensive system to provide. We've got a huge team of programmers that nonstop for 10 years have been improving and developing the system. They actually work closely with the major record labels. Major record labels help design and test and figure out exactly, they give us their wish lists and try and figure out exactly what they want. We have 4 server facilities. We're adding a 5th server facility in Australia currently. We've got a 24-hour call center. Costs a lot of money, but these costs are all fixed. And so we're now in the enviable position where all this new business that comes in is going to be mostly margin. And that's why this announcement is so important.
So with the Clipstream product now, where are you today?
Again, if you asked me a year ago if we would still be kind of fine-tuning and fixing things today, I would have said no way. But development always takes longer than you wish that it would. And we're almost there, not quite. We're kind of about 95%. And so 95% is enough to start making money. And so we're working with market research companies. They do video questionnaires. And they're some of the biggest companies in the world. They're Fortune 100 companies. They're everything from pharmaceuticals to guys doing movie trailers to new car companies launching new cars or whatever. They're working with us to do video surveys in the new Clipstream format, and they're paying us for it. We're still running into the odd little glitch. The glitches, again, are like really, really minor to the extent that somebody's not getting the best quality that they could get. Something's not perfectly centered. Maybe not a perfect integration into third-party systems like Drupal or WordPress or that kind of thing. But we're working through that, and with our paid market research companies, they're helping us find like the last few bugs. And we're actually expecting to launch way wider to everybody this quarter. So we're developing 5 websites, a main Clipstream site, and then 4 sites for 4 initial verticals. The sales verticals that are out there, there's more than 4, but we're starting with 4. And we expect to roll all of that out this current quarter.
Okay, and so that should reflect in revenues almost immediately then.
Yeah, exactly. The one thing I should say is we've been working with market research companies for a long time. So to some extent, we're switching revenues from other products into the new product. So on that side, you're not going to see too much. But as we roll out into new products, absolutely, you're going to see big growth, and the new revenues are almost all margin. In terms of the quarter, we're already so the current quarter is March, April, May. So we're already getting towards the end of the quarter. You're probably going to see the bigger impact in our Q4, which is June, July, August. But it's onward and upwards from here. From quarter to quarter, you're just going to see increases. The Clipstream business is something we're really excited about.
So Steve, one of the things that really concerns investors these days, particularly with smaller companies, is the lack of money. But you guys are a little bit different, aren't you? You're in a pretty good position. Yeah,
we're kind of in an unusual situation for a small company in that the businesses that we're in are generating good, positive cash flow. For example, in the last couple of years, we've bought back 5% of our stock. We actually went into the market, used our own money, bought stock, and then we canceled it. We had warrants that were in the money that were potential dilution that we knew were going to be exercised. We didn't want them to get exercised, so we bought them back. We did cashless exercises where we wrote a check to the investors to basically give up their warrants. We've been very sensitive to dilution because we think the market probably doesn't understand the value of what we have. In terms of cash position, we don't have a lot of cash. We probably should have more. We should probably beef up our balance sheet at some point, but there's no hurry. We probably got about 1.3 million in the bank. We have a mortgage on some property in Australia where they're paying us over 10% interest on 600,000 that they owe us. We have a $500,000 line of credit with the Royal Bank of Canada. Probably could secure more if we needed to. And we're regularly approached by groups that would like to finance us. I think if we did want to beef up the balance sheet, we could at any point. It's just, I don't think that's in the best interests of our current shareholders, at least until we can prove to the world that Clipstream's as big as we think it is. And we can kind of launch in, not that we haven't launched yet, but to get it out there and get our first big customers.
Steve, based on what you've told me today, I mean, I've been watching your stock. I know it's rebounded a bit since the announcement on the Play MP3, but it hasn't bounced as much as I thought it would. And based on some of the things that you've said, I mean, I think your investors have a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't worry too much about the share price day to day, and I know that frustrates investors in the short term. It kind of is what it is, but we try to look at the fundamentals, because long term, it's going to be the number of shares that are outstanding, the amount of earnings that we generate, and the value of the technology and the assets that we have. And so to some extent, we treat the company like a private company, and we think that what we have is extremely valuable. It may take some time for the market to realize it. I don't think there's a lot of downside risk, just purely on earnings. I think we can easily justify the current price. But in terms of the business and the revenues that we're expecting and the earnings that we're expecting going forward, I think we're in a very enviable position.
Well, good. Thank you, Steve. And I look forward to talking to you again in the not too distant future.
I appreciate it, Ted. Thank you.
From the offices of Investment Pitch, for Ticker Talk, I'm Ted Ohashi.